Welcome, engineering students. Today what we're going to do is look at Sketchup. This is your first piece of design software. You'll have an icon on your desktop. It looks just like this. It says Sketchup. It's kind of like a cube with some steps in it. So if you click on Sketchup, this is your first screen. It has to deal with licensing and templates. We're going to go up here on the right hand side, choose a template, and these are the different templates you can use. Feet and inches, we can work in millimeters. They're simple templates, and if you scroll down here on the right, landscape architecture, woodworking, and goes all the way down to 3D printing. For now, we're just going to leave it at architectural design, feet and inches. And if you click Start Using SketchUp down here on the bottom right, it should start. You'll notice that, like any piece of software, there's a series of menus on the top: File, Edit, View, Camera, Draw, Tools, Window, and Help. Inside these menus, you can make a selection. New gives you a new file. Open opens an old file. Save, save as a template. Some of those are more advanced and we will not be using until later. Edit depends on what you have selected. View is how you're viewing the screen. What's turned on, what's turned off. We'll just leave it at the standard settings. Toolbars, there are a number of extra toolbars, but for now we're going to stick with the simple toolbar. You can see it's checked off, Getting Started. Camera. SketchUp works with a series of cameras. It's the way you view your model or the world that you're in. We'll leave it the way it is. Right now it's set for perspective, and I'll explain some of this later. Draw, lines, arcs, and shapes. Most of these match up with these tabs on the top, so we don't need to access that tab either. Tools, these are different things we can do, and also there are tabs for those. Window, this is some other options, and the help menu. So what we're really going to be concerned with today is across here, this toolbar. The arrow is for selections. If I click on the arrow, notice that my cursor looks like an arrow, and now I can select things. So this guy right here is a two-dimensional man. His name is Steve. If I click once, he's all highlighted in blue. If I double click him, the blue frame around him goes away. And then I can actually pick individual pieces now. So I'm going to click off in space, left mouse. Alright, so the way the mouse works. Left click selects, right click gives you options. So if I click on Steve, right click, there are options, and then I can select one of these options. If I left click, Steve gets selected. So the left click is always to select. The right click gives you options that you can pick. The next tool over is the eraser. So if I had something drawn, I could erase it. If I try to erase Steve, there he goes, he disappears. Now he's gone, but if I can always bring him back by holding down the Control Z. And that brings him back. So if I erase him again, and I go to Edit, Undo Erase, he'll also come back. The shortcut is Control C. Next tool over is Free Draw. It is the pencil tool. So as I draw, you can see how I've made this squiggly mess. Erase, hold the left mouse, erase. Anything that gets highlighted in blue gets erased. It's a mess. So what I can do, it's hard to erase all these little pieces. I can go back to my selection, click and hold down the left mouse, drag across and create a window over everything I want to get rid of. Let it go and hit delete on the keyboard, and that will delete whatever's inside the window. One more time, make a mess. Now, pick command, left mouse, and as I drag across from left to right, if I let go of the mouse, anything that's inside, completely inside the block, got selected. You notice that I was touching some of this other line, but it didn't get selected. If I went from right to left, and I let go of it, anything that touches the block gets selected. So there's two ways to select with a bounding box. Everything inside the box, anything touching the box. Right to left, left to right. The inside. Delete, it's gone. Other options, straight lines, that was freehand. So if I pick freehand, straight line, pick once, and I drag it along. You notice that the line is nice and straight. Click a second time, and the line is drawn. Go back, Control Z, get rid of those. There are three different directions on the screen that you can draw. They're really X, Y, and Z axis, but in Sketchup they are labeled as colors, so blue, green, and red. Blue is in the in the Z. Red is in the X, and green is in the Y. If I take the mouse and I push the scroll button and roll it back and forth, that zooms in and out. I can hold down on the scroll button and rotate around my screen. And if you look right now, you can see that Steve is a two-dimensional object. However, as I roll around the screen, he always faces the camera, so he's a smart component. Okay, next tool. Some other options for drawing. I'll let you play with those. Arcs, two-point arcs. Okay. Rectangles. And then that's going to bring us to the push-pull. So what I'm going to do is put in a rectangle for right now. So I'm going to select rectangle, my shapes, and I drag it across. So that's a left mouse to start the rectangle, and then hold it down, and then when you let it go, you've drawn a rectangle. SketchUp works with a series of lines that develop planes. So if I would take my pencil, draw a straight line in the red, straight line in the green, connect them, I've drawn in the same plane, which creates a surface. When I have a surface, I can manipulate that surface. And this next tool will help us do that. It's the push-pull tool. Click it, select it, and then as I go over surfaces, you'll see they highlight. Once they highlight, you can left mouse to select and hold it down and drag it up, and now you've created a three-dimensional object. Back to my pick, rotate around, and there it is. The biggest tip I can probably give you about drawing with single lines is to keep your lines parallel and perpendicular with each other to create surfaces. Now you notice as I'm dragging here, I have the left mouse pushed down. I have a green axis, and if I adjust it a little bit, it turns to blue. Now I'm going up and down. Here I'm going along. So I can draw that line in. I'll show you. And I'm going to try to get that to come up in the blue and connect them up. Hold down the scroll, and there it is. Let's see what I drew. Okay. Delete these. Select, click, and drag over everything I want to get rid of. Hit delete. Excellent. This next tool is the offset tool. We'll make another surface. Select offset. The surface highlights, I hold down the left mouse, I drag inside, and it takes the outer boundary and helps me draw an offset or at a certain distance from that boundary. Creates another surface. Now I have two surfaces. 1, 2. All right. Get rid of that. Next we have the move command. Create a little cube for myself. Go back to the push-pull, pull the surface up. Select all of it. The move command, 4 arrows in 4 directions. Whenever you move anything in Sketchup, you'll notice as I move around the object, there are little key points that light up, end points and center points. Whenever you move something, you should always move it from a point to a point. Select one of these highlighted points. So everything's picked. I come down to this end point, left mouse click, and then I can move the object around. And you notice that it slides. I can slide it in the X direction, I can slide it Y direction, I can slide it in the Z direction, or I can just slide it randomly. If I actually wanted to locate this back over here in the center of my world or center of this axis, I can drag it over, and since I selected a point, it'll give me a point, drop it, and now it's at that point, it has moved. One more key element or thing that you can do with Sketchup is make copies of the block with the move command. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here and pick a point, and I'm going to hold Control down, left mouse, and drag this out. You can let the mouse go, and then when I click it a second time, it's going to actually place the object. Okay. I'm going to show you one more tool, which is the rotate tool. I have my box selected. I'm going to go back to pick out on the screen to deselect. Now, if I go back and pick just one line and I move that, my box gets distorted because anything that's attached to the line follows the line. Control C, go back. So if I wanted to move the whole box, select the whole thing. All right. Rotate. So I'm going to pick something that I want to rotate. I'm going to rotate this entire box. Rotate. It attaches itself to one of the axes. You see it's blue, so I'll spin about the blue axis, about the red, and about the green. Click once to place the point you want to spin from. Drag out what you want to set to 0, and then you rotate or slide your mouse around, and it rotates around. And if I move slow enough, it will actually lock on the green axis, back to the red, back to the green. If I want to rotate it about the green, pick once, second time to set 0, and rotate. Okay, so for now, what I'd like you to do is practice with those tools, create some boxes, move them around, make copies, erase some lines, and then we'll move on to the next lesson. Thanks.